friends, Miss Kristi here, and I am so excited to be together again cooking in the kitchen. Today we are learning how to make mini cheesy breadsticks. These breadsticks are light and fluffy and filled with ooey gooey cheesy goodness. We're gonna have fun making these together, and I'm so glad you're here. Now, the first step to cooking and working in the kitchen is to wash our hands. While I wash my hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds, let's go over the ingredients and supplies that you'll need to cook along today. The ingredients you'll need are 2 string cheese, 4 crescent rolls, 1/4 teaspoon oregano, which is optional, 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, which is optional, 1 tablespoon olive oil. The supplies you need are a cutting board, a baking sheet, oven mitts for safety, 2 small bowls, a pizza cutter, 1 tablespoon, 1/4 teaspoon, a pastry brush, and parchment paper, which is optional. Okay, great. Our hands are clean, we've gathered our ingredients and supplies, so let's get started. To make these mini cheesy breadsticks, the very first step is going to be to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So let's go do that. All right, while the oven is preheating, let's put together these breadsticks. First thing is, if you have parchment paper, again, it's usually optional. It just helps your cleanup be a little bit easier. So I have parchment paper that I'm gonna work on, and I'm just gonna set it on my baking sheet so it's ready. Because we're gonna put our bread down right away. All right, grab your crescent rolls. So yours might come in, I just took the paper off mine, like the wrapping. So yours is probably gonna come in like a roll like this. We only need half of it because this is gonna give you 8 crescent rolls. We only need half. So I can just break mine in half and not use the other one. I'm gonna put it in a baggie, put it back in the fridge, and use it for another recipe. We only need 4 of them. So if you need to cut it in half, go for it. You can use your pizza cutter for that, or just break it in half, and this gives us 4 crescent rolls. And we're just gonna lay these out, unroll them on our baking sheet. So, because this is gonna make 4 mini cheesy breadsticks. It's a good snack just for yourself, or maybe for you and another person. If you wanted to make 8 and use the whole roll, you just double the recipe. But today we're just gonna make 4. So I'm going to unroll them and kind of leave them in their triangle shape and just lay them on your baking sheet. Spread them out a little bit, that way they're not touching, so they have room to cook and get nice and fluffy. Just going to unroll them into 4 triangle shapes. Just like that. And now I'm just gonna set this to the side for a minute because we need to cut our string cheese. So those are just gonna wait for us over there. 2 string cheese is what you need for this recipe. So grab your string cheese, probably in a wrapper. You're just gonna take the wrapper off. And grab your pizza cutter. Now I'm using a pizza cutter because it's safe, it's easy. If you have a knife and you wanna use a knife and you feel comfortable with that, all we're doing is cutting our string cheese in half because we don't need the whole thing. For each breadstick, we're only using half of a string cheese. So take your string cheese, set it on a cutting board, hold one end, it just helps it so it doesn't move around, and just slice it right in half, okay? Same thing with the other one, cut it right down the middle. Now we have 4 string cheese to work with. You don't need your pizza cutter, so you can set that to the side when you're done. All right, now we're gonna take the string cheese and put it at the top of our dough. So kind of the big part of the triangle. If you wanna look at it like a triangle, you're gonna set it at the top of it where it fits. Like if you tried to set it at the other end, it'd be too big. So put it on the top, and you're just going to kind of set it there. Maybe give it a little press so it stays into place. and then we're gonna let them sit here for a second while we mix our seasonings. Now, I said that the seasonings were optional, so I have oregano and I have garlic powder. If you don't like those flavors and you just love the flavor of bread and cheese, just skip this next part. You don't have to add seasoning. My family likes the flavor of like garlic powder, so I add this to my breadsticks, but if you don't or you don't have it, you could just do the next step of rolling them up when we get there. But if you do want to add seasonings, what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab one of your small little bowls that we said you needed in the beginning, and your garlic powder and 1/4 teaspoon, okay? So it's gonna say 1/TSP, and you are gonna measure 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and just dump it into your little bowl. Set that aside, we're done with that. And the same thing with your oregano if you choose to use it. You're gonna use 1/4 teaspoon, the same one, measure out 1/4 teaspoon and drop it into your bowl. And then you're done with your oregano. And then I'm just gonna use this same little teaspoon and kind of stir it around, just mix it up a little bit, just kind of so it's mixed together. And all I'm gonna do now is take our breadsticks that are waiting to be rolled and sprinkle it lightly over them. So if you end up doing too much on one, it's gonna be very flavorful, but we're not gonna use all of this. So I'm going to do about half of it and just sprinkle it, and then once we roll them up and we do the next step, we'll put a little bit over the top. So just kind of take a teaspoon like I have here, and you're just sprinkling lightly the best you can. Now we're learning how to make these, so if you do too much, it's okay. If you like a lot of flavor, add more. That's the nice thing about cooking for yourself, is you get to make those choices. If you like a lot, add a lot. But we're just sprinkling it over there. And then see how I still have some left in here? We're gonna use this in a minute. So I'm just gonna set that to the side. We'll use it again. But now comes the fun part. We get to roll these up into our mini cheesy breadsticks. So all I'm gonna do is start at the big end here, and we're gonna roll up our string cheese to a nice little, I don't know, bed for it, I guess. And then you wanna pinch the sides, because if we leave the ends open, the string cheese is just gonna melt out and it won't be waiting for us when we bite into it. So you wanna kind of cover up the sides, pinch it closed. If you have a hole, it's gonna come out a little bit, but that's okay. It's still gonna taste good. But you kind of want it to look like this. So it's this nice little nugget of bread cheesy awesomeness. Same thing for these other ones. We're just gonna roll it up, kind of tuck the sides in, pinch them closed. How easy is this? Roll, roll, roll. Cover your ends. And last one, roll it up. Pinch the ends. So for this one, like I could see a lot of string cheese on the end, so I just wanted to really make sure and cover it. It might still come out a little bit in the oven, that's okay. It's still gonna taste good. All right, so the string cheese is all rolled up in our bread, and now we're just going to take our olive oil and brush the top of them a little bit. That way they kind of get that golden flavor and a little bit crunchy. So take your 1 tablespoon, so 1 TBSP, the bigger one, and then you should still have a small bowl left. So I'm gonna put that right in front of me, and we're just gonna measure 1 tablespoon of olive oil and dump it right into our bowl. And if you get a little bit too much or not enough, it's really okay, because we're gonna brush it. We're not probably gonna use all of it. Grab your pastry brush and put these back in front of me. If you don't have a pastry brush, you could really just kind of take like a paper towel and just dip it lightly and kind of brush it on there. Really, we're just trying to get it covered. You could use the back of a spoon. I happen to have a pastry brush, so it makes life a little bit easier, but maybe like the back of a spoon, and you're just gonna dunk it in there and then brush it on. Like I said, this part kind of just gets it a little bit golden and crunchy. If you don't like the taste of olive oil, then don't do this part. I can't say it enough. Learning to cook for yourself in the kitchen, you get to make choices on what you like, what you don't like. So if you make this and you didn't like that part, then don't add it the next time you make it. you get to choose. But I like mine a little bit kind of golden. You could also melt butter and use butter if you don't like the taste of olive oil. All right, I'm gonna set that aside because we are done with that. We just brushed the top of them. Now, if you used your seasoning, this is where you get to, ooh, spilled it, see, that's okay. All right, if you used your seasoning the first time, this is where you get to come back and sprinkle the rest of it or some of the rest of it onto your mini cheesy breadsticks. So just kind of carefully taking a scoop again and just sprinkling it on. Just add that bit of extra flavor. And if there's other flavors you like some people like Italian seasoning, maybe even like onion powder, you can experiment and see what you like. Every time you make it, maybe try something different and see if you find there's some of them that have like a pizza seasoning flavor you could use. You could choose. So we're done with that, you can set it aside. But this is it, this is our recipe. So we use dough, we use cheese and a little bit of seasoning, brushed it with some olive oil, and now they're ready to go in the oven for 12 minutes. That's all they cook, and you can kind of watch them. They're gonna start to get brown. You might see some cheese leaking out, which is okay. But from this point, I'm just going to put them in the oven carefully and set a 12-minute timer, and then when it's done, we'll take them out and we'll see how they look. So let's put them in. All right, friends, our 12-minute timer just went off. So now we're basically gonna take them carefully out of the oven and let them cool for about two or 3 minutes. So first thing, make sure you have a pot holder or something down to put on your counter. That way it stays protected from the hot pan. Put our oven mitts on for safety and carefully take them out of your oven. Turn off your oven first. That's always the first step. That way you don't get a ton of hot air. So turn your oven off, and then we're gonna take them out carefully with our oven mitts and set them on the counter and cool for about 2 or 3 minutes. Two minutes later, all right, friends, it's been about 2 or 3 minutes and they have cooled. Still don't want to touch the pan if you're going to grab them off there. So carefully, I'm just going to take a couple and put them on a plate because our snack is done. So let's grab a couple here. And some of my cheese did come out. I pinched the sides as best as I could, but sometimes there's just so much awesome cheesiness in there that it comes out, and that's okay. It's still going to taste good. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're learning how to cook these. But I do say so myself, they look delicious. They smell good if you could smell it. There's just cheesy and bread, and because I have the garlic powder on there. So they do smell good and they look amazing. So I do hope you try to make these or try and make them again. And when you do, let me know how it goes. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. You can even take a picture of your mini cheesy breadsticks and send them to me, and maybe we'll get to show it on next week's episode. Now, speaking of next week, on our episode next week, which is episode 13, we're learning how to make cheesy egg and tot breakfast bites. Yum. These breakfast bites are crunchy and cheesy and eggy and a great way to start your day. In order to make these awesome breakfast bites next week, these are the ingredients that you'll need to have in your kitchen. 3 eggs, 2 string cheese, 4 crescent rolls, 6 tater tots, which have been thawed for about 30 minutes, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon pepper. Well, friends, our time together today is almost over. I do hope you've enjoyed learning how to make these mini cheesy breadsticks. I know I had fun, and I already can't wait to cook together again next time. But before you say goodbye to this episode, make sure to click subscribe if you haven't already. You just have to click the little picture of me in the corner. That way you don't miss next week's episode, and I'll see you then. Bye, friends.